I'm gonna still get to do
Where am I? Yes.
And mark out a brand new service. Where'd you come from?
Wow.
Can't help you with that. I'll say the answer is yes. I think we'll. Yeah, right. Right. It's good for your looking forward.
All right, everybody, start making your way to your seats so we can get started. It's almost that magical 6:40 time. Cover that smart.
Going right where it needs it.
Okay, welcome everybody. Please find a seat. It is 6:40 and the meeting will come to order. If you can please stand, the flag is close to the entrance. Say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. When you walked in, you noticed that there were meeting minutes from December 16th meeting. If you could take a few moments to review those. And if you see anything that needs correcting, just shout it out. Does anybody need a copy of the minutes? You need it?
One attended. Wendy Carroll.
All right, how are those minutes looking? Perfect, right? Okay, are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, the minutes for December 16th are approved. I want to welcome, if you're a new face here, welcome. Thanks for being here. Bring a friend next time. I always like to say bring 2 or 3. It's great to have you here. We have a lot of information to share with you tonight, so I don't want to waste any time getting started. There's people on the phone. A reminder also that we have that Google Hangout, that you can find that link on our Broward ESE Advisory Facebook page. That's really helpful to go back. If there was something you missed, you want to catch again, you can always look at that stream of the meeting. That's really helpful to you. Before we get started, I want to make sure I also congratulate Mary Claire Musnick, who's here tonight, because she's our new Director of Student Support Services. So that's really, really exciting for our students. So everybody, congratulations. Really, really well deserved. So congratulations. I also want to introduce our distinguished guests here tonight. Our Executive Director is here, Dr. Hickman. Some of you may not have met him yet. Sonia Clay, another one of our directors, is here. Lou Ricolo from Transition Services is here. Ralph Aiello is here. He's going to talk to us about graduation. And we also have Tara Roger here. She's going to talk about scholarships and school choice. So get ready for use those handouts, take your notes, and get your questions ready. If you have some, there'll be a little bit of time for that. Before we have our presenters, we do have somebody else here, Mark Halpert. He's a co-president of LDA, the Learning Disabilities Association of Florida Board, is here, and he has to sneak out. So I wanted him to have a chance to share with you about the upcoming conference that's next month.
Thank you.
Sure.
One, I'd also like to welcome the new board member of the Florida Learning Disabilities Association of Florida, Kelly Thomerson. Real happy to have her join our board. The Learning Disabilities Association is focused on the 2.5 million kids who have learning disabilities in this country, and the Florida division is really focused on our student success. We're having a conference in Orlando on February 15th to 18th. We're going to have Lisa Deeker speaking, doing one of the keynotes from University of Central Florida. And we have 2 very, very special speakers. Doug Fuchs is going to be speaking on why RTI doesn't work for our kids and what we can do about it. He's at the Peabody School at Vanderbilt, terrific gentleman. Then Don Deschler, who I've had the pleasure of speaking on the podium with, from University of Kansas. And one of his colleagues is going to be speaking on online applications for kids with learning disabilities. We're also going to, for the first time, we're going to have 2 sessions focused just on Florida's issues. One on how do we improve the performance of students with learning disabilities. Kelly and I will be part of the panel, and then we'll be having one on school choice. In addition, there are a couple 100 sessions online. There's flyers over there. There are two opportunities. One, there's people can come to the conference. There are hundreds of sessions. You can choose from them. The second one is we have volunteer opportunities. For people that are members of the Learning Disability Association, it just costs $40. If you donate 2 days of your time to volunteer, the conference is free. We're trying to get people to come. This is really going to be a somewhat different conference because my co-president Kathy and I and our board are really trying to make it that much more valuable for parents and professionals from Florida. So if anybody knows anything, yes? Volunteering looks like we have a session where Sonia Clay is going to speak, okay? And we need somebody in that room that's going to pass out the handouts that she might give and get the evaluations. So we're, in addition to doing that, it may be showing people where things are at, okay? And we are trying very hard for our volunteers to match them with the sessions that they want to attend so that they're actually getting to see the people they want to see. And in addition to that, there's a lot of socializing. We're going to be having a lot of discussions about what do we do in this state where, while we have some very capable people here in Broward, we have some challenges with the state, getting the attention of the state in terms of focusing on the performance of students with disabilities. Just to give you a couple of numbers, 10 years ago, 8.8% of the kids with LISP had learning disabilities. Today, 4.9% do, despite the fact that probably more kids actually have learning disabilities than ever before. Two, while some people say our performance is terrific, as a state, I think we'll only have 8% of our students with learning disabilities actually passing the state mandated exams. So we're going to actually be talking about how do we get OSEP, which is the Office of Special Education Programs, starting to focus on the performance of our kids. How do we get them focused on success by third grade, which is one of my passions, so that we get it right early and we keep it right. So we have, I'd love to see Broward be the leader in terms of the student performance, but I'd also like to see Florida actually get on board. So we're going to be talking about how do we come together as a community, parents, professionals, inside the schools, outside the schools, and especially get young parents, but also parents who've got older kids. There's estimates that are 20% of the kids with learning disabilities, but only 5% identified. So we've got some real challenges. We've got a lot of walking wounded out there. So we're talking about helping parents be informed, empowered, and proactive, and collaborating with the school district and the schools and the professionals there to identify kids and help them succeed. Any questions? If you want, there are flyers over here, both for volunteer opportunities. There's a program book. If you go to the Learning Disability Association of America, there's a program description there. And if you go on Facebook, you can find me. If you have any questions, just give me a holler, because we want to see more and more people working together to help our kids succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And now Mr. Aiello is going to talk to us about graduation. So, thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Ralph Aiello, Supervisor of School Counseling, aka the Guidance Counselors, Grace, and Academic Advisement. In our department, we have 3 goals for our students. Goal number 1, everybody graduates. When you graduate, go somewhere and do something. I don't care what you do, just do something. Some are going to go on university, some are going to community college, some are going to go to tech college, some are going to the military, the workforce, whatever it is. When you graduate, you're going to still be alive, so you got to go and do something. And whatever you do, the third goal is get somebody else to pay for it. All right, so there's plenty of scholarships and financial aid out there for everybody. And you know, most families have never really experienced having to pay a tuition bill or pay for their books or any of the other factors that go into college costs. So we want to make sure that everybody graduates, goes somewhere and does something, and gets someone else to pay for it. Today we're going to talk about that first part, which is everybody graduates. So what you really need to know is that every cohort, and a cohort is the first year of entry into 9th grade. Okay, when you step foot into the high school for the first time, that's your contract. That's what starts your clock for 4 years, basically. And every cohort might have a different set of graduation requirements. It all depends on what the state or the school board changes in laws or policies. So you have to know what is your cohort, the year of entry into 9th grade, and you have to know what the requirements are for that cohort. So on the BrowardSchools.com website, if you just scroll down a little bit, where it says quick links, you'll see graduation requirements. This right there. Right? And then if you scroll down a little bit more, keep going, and it will break it down by the different cohorts. So it'll tell you based on your year of entry or your graduating class, you can click the charts. We have them translated in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole. So we'll just go and look at the current class of 2016. We'll look at the English one because I don't know if the last one was not as good as it used to be. And just make sure that you know that it's basically graduation requirements are on credits, GPA, test scores, and community service. So again, depending on your cohort, you might have different credit requirements. Within some of those classes, there might be different testing requirements, but the GPA is always typically a 2.0, a C average going across. English is always 4 credits. Math is always going to be 4 credits. Out of the 4 math, you're going to have Algebra 1 and Geometry. Okay, you have to have those 2 specifically and 2 additional math classes. For science, you're going to need to have at least 3. One of those 3 is going to have to be biology. So you have to make sure that you're all in the right courses. Some are specific, some are general. Social studies, you're always going to need world history, U.S. history, a government and an economics class. That's going to be for everybody. You're going to need an arts class. That could be either a performing art or a practical art. Depends on which course your students are interested in. And you need to take physical education. That physical education class is typically called HOPE, Health Opportunities Through Physical Education. That's the old life management skills and PE classes pretty much combined. So you're getting to run around most of the time, but also learning about the body and drugs and alcohol and all that other stuff about how to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And then a bunch of electives. In total, you generally need 24 credits to graduate. 24 is the magic number. But there's also a new option that I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. It's called Excel. And Excel is the 18 credit graduation requirement. All right, so now 18 credits. This has been around for several years. It is the same exact diploma as the 24 credit option. It is not a remedial diploma. It is not looked upon negatively by any of the state universities. It is just a different path to the same goal of a standard high school diploma. The idea is that the state wants students to accelerate, it's why it's called Excel, to accelerate towards graduation so they can go on to pursue their whatever post-secondary goals they have earlier. So basically, it's the same credit requirements of English, math, science, and social studies, but you don't have to take that HOPE class. You don't have to do your arts class, and you don't have to take probably I think it's like 4 or 5 elective classes. So you only need 18 credits instead of 24, and you can graduate early and go on to college, right? Again, it's the same exact diploma. The colleges do not frown upon it in any way. I had all 12 state university system admissions directors on one stage in front of all the counselors and all the brace advisors, and I ask them every single year, do you care if a student graduates with a 24 credit option or an 18 credit option diploma? They said no, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna look at the classes on the transcript and they're going to pick and choose which classes they want to evaluate anyway. They're not looking at PE. They're not looking at your elective classes. They care about your academic classes anyway. So as long as your transcript is competitive and you have a lot of good core academic courses on there, they're going to evaluate you just the same whether you have the 18 credit diploma or the 24 credit diploma. So just want to make sure people are aware of that, because sometimes people think that the 18 credit diploma is like not as rigorous, or it's the same standards as the 24 credit, but it's the same exact diploma. Okay. So they're also on, when you go on here, there's a couple of state awards, the scholar designation and the merit designation. Those are basically stickers that go on your diploma. I hate minimizing them because that, students who achieve certain qualifications get these. They're actually a good honor. But really, it's just an award like any other award we give at graduation and the like. One of the things you're going to know is, to keep track of all this stuff, it's very difficult. Again, depends on your cohort. There are all these credits and GPAs and test scores. I didn't even get into the end of course assessments that are required for all these classes. Sometimes those EOCs are counted as 30% of the final course grade. Sometimes they don't. So it's very confusing. So what we have is virtual counselor. So if you go back to the BrowardSchools.com main page, the actual main page, and just go to the bottom. And virtual counselor right there, okay? So basically, this is our electronic system that takes your students' actual information from our database and matches it up to all of those graduation requirements, so you can see how your student matches up to the actual graduation requirements and see if they're on track for English, math, science, social studies, and so on and so forth. So we encourage you to use the tools and resources that are available to you, because it can get confusing. I strongly encourage you to stay in close communication with your school counselor and brace advisor to make sure that they are going through and manually looking to make sure your student is on track. If you have any problems with credits, there are all kinds of ways of recovering credits these days. We have our community schools, which are in some of the classes right now down the hall. We have online classes. There are other programs that we have available in our schools. There's all kinds of ways of catching up on credits. When it comes to your GPA, which is a 2.0 I mentioned earlier, a C average, we have ways of forgiving some grades and trying to bring those GPAs up. In fact, I've never seen one child in my entire career not graduate simply due to GPA. Not once, ever, that I've ever seen, because we have so many ways of getting the GPA up, okay? So there are ways of getting that up. And when it comes to the tests, when it comes to the FCAT or the FSA or the EOCs, please also remember that we have concordance scores. So if your child hasn't passed the FCAT or the FSA reading, that they can use the SAT or the ACT in order to substitute for the FCAT or the FSA reading. In fact, where we just came from at the school board meeting, the school board approved the purchase of the ACT test for all of our 12th graders, all the seniors who have not passed the FCAT or the FSA in reading. We're going to give them the actual ACT during the regular school day on March 15th. So for our special needs students, we've already gone ahead before we even got the approval from the board, and we've already requested all of the accommodations for all of the students. So this way, nobody's left out without getting all of the accommodations they need, whether it's 50% extended time or whatever your special need is. We already have those approved, and the students are going to take it on March 15th. For all of our juniors this year, we've approved SAT Day. So every 11th grader in the school district is going to take a real SAT on April 12th of this school year. And again, we're going through right now and making sure all of the special needs students have all of their accommodation requests in place. So this way, when they become seniors next year, we don't have as many seniors who are in need of passing the graduation test going forward. So there are many, many different types of resources and support available to you in order to make sure you graduate. And I know that I wasn't here to talk about the next step, which is when you graduate, go somewhere and do something, as well as getting someone else to pay for it. But I wanted to take 5 minutes just to tell you guys a little bit about something. I put a flyer up on the table. We have a new software system that went live just yesterday for all of our students in grades 6 through 12. It is called Naviance. Naviance is the world premier college and career advisement system. It is what all of the private schools are using to help their children to get access to college and career information, as well as scholarships and financial aid. So we are now bringing cutting edge technology that all the private schools are using for their children to all of our public school students to provide that equitable access so everybody's leveling the playing field going forward. You can learn about colleges, careers, scholarships. You can watch videos on there about what it's like to be the first child in your family to go to college, how to overcome an impoverished neighborhood. You can learn about yourself. There's all kinds of assessments about what are you interested in, what do you value, what are your personality types, what kind of learning styles do you have. So this way students know about themselves and then how it relates to the world of work and how you can choose a college based upon your specific interests and your specific values and so on and so forth. We're going to be rolling this out over the rest of the semester, and we're very excited about this. This is something our GRACE advisors and our school counselors have been asking for many years, and we're very proud to have it in our district now. And we're very much encouraging everybody to get in the system and start playing around, because this is really going to provide you with that information, that personalized information for you to go not only graduate, but go on and go somewhere and do something and getting someone else to pay for it from there. All right, now I know I kind of inundated you with information. I talk very, very fast. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. We want to make sure that you walk out of here feeling confident that you can help your students and as well as others to graduate in life. Oh, that was not a
Sorry, that was me.
Questions, comments, concerns, feedback? No. Awesome.
No one has a question. Wow. Awesome.
All
You
right.
did a great job.
Well, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
And Tara Rogers is going to share some school choice options with us in Cape College.
Did they send you a PowerPoint?
No. I think so. Do you have the PowerPoint for the school choice? Sorry.
And if you want to follow along, there's actually a handout of it as well. It was up on the table. Sorry, tabs open. So you're probably saying, Tara Roger, heard that name before, Doesn't she usually talk about Easy IEP? Yes, I usually talk about Easy IEP, but this is the other hat that I also wear, is dealing with school choice. Tara does wear a lot of hats. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Ralph. Ralph and I, and a group of us, meet once a month to make sure that we're all on the same page with guidance in ESE and making sure our diploma options and everything are up to date with what's there. So it's a good partnership.
While we're waiting, are there any school board representatives here? I saw one just walk in and we would think, school board representative here.
All right, let's go on to the next one. School choice sometimes can be a little confusing to you as a parent, and I'm hoping by kind of laying things out today, you get a better idea of the things that are out there. Kelly had asked me to talk about the McKay Scholarship. We're going to talk a little bit about reassignment, Magnet Nova, and then the very last thing is the newest thing on the block, which is that personal learning scholarship. So the McKay Scholarship has been around for quite a while. There are actually two parts to it. The first part on the left-hand side you'll see up there is for a private school McKay. And for a private school McKay, you're going to go on the state's website, floridaschoolchoice.org. You're going to fill out an intent by July 3rd of each year if you're applying, and make sure that if you're choosing a school, and we don't have anything knowledge-wise on schools. Remember, the state puts out that list of private schools that participate in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade. You need to kind of do your own investigation of what those schools are. I will caution you that the state does not say they have to be accredited. So if you're looking at a private school there, the list will come out with a name. You want to make sure you go all the way over to the right and make sure you pick a school that is accredited. So that when you're done, you truly get that diploma. So that's on the left-hand side. That's the private McKay. If you apply on the state's website and you're looking for a different public school, it says on the state's website to contact your district for additional information. That's my office. That's Jenny Quartararo and myself. And actually, when you have your child's IEP, we give you a letter, a John McKay letter about the program, and it specifically says, if you're looking for a private school, go to this website. If you're looking for a public school, as you see on the right-hand side here, we'll start accepting those applications a month earlier than usual this year. We're going to start on May 15th. We're trying to align more with the reassignments office. So we'll open up on May 15th. The actual website is the Broward Schools website. It is on the letter that you get with your child's IEP, but it is also here in case you would like to go. By May 1st of this year, we will post the schools and the availability of seats. Now, we will have at least a seat in each program in each school. So if you're looking for blank elementary school and maybe they have an ASD program there, there'll be a seat there. You're going to another one and they have an EBD program, we'll at least have a seat there. The state says that the main objective is to see if we can take care of your child's IEP in the school that you've chosen. So we do some dancing around sometimes, Jenny and I, to look to see about the child's IEP and does it fit here and can we take care of that? So a lot of times if you call, we'll say, well, we have to investigate, we have to look at those things, and you'll see. But again, we will open on the 15th, we'll post on the 1st, and it is on a first come, first served basis. All right? Any questions about the McKay Scholarship? Yes, ma'am.
How do you find out the services available at the school?
On those private schools? On public schools, I know when we post our regular gen ed seats up at the top, and then Jenny always makes sure that when we talk about special programs, we specifically set out to say at blank elementary school, it's an ASD seat, or at other elementary schools, it might be an EBD or an IND seat that's there. So we make sure we try to give you as much information as possible. All right? Yes?
Just for clarification.
Sure, Linda.
My mouth is kind of big. Just for clarification, you said 1 seat per school or 1 seat per program within that school?
1 seat per program within that school, at least 1 seat per program in those schools. We'll try to give more as we look closer to the end of the school year, but right now we know we will at least have 1 seat in each of the programs. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, you lost me at the abbreviation.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. ASD is autism spectrum disorder. IND, intellectual disabilities, emotional behavior disabilities, EBD. So those are our cluster type or our special programs in each of the schools. Thank you for bringing that up.
Everybody do that whenever you're like lost.
Sure,
like, SOS,
please,
I don't know.
help.
Like,
I don't know what.
Ask.
All right, so that is the John McKay program. You get a letter with your child's IEP. If the IEP is not held by April 15th, look for that letter to come home right before then. The ESE specialists at their last meeting were told, if you haven't held the annual for the child and you're not going to hold it before April 15th, go in and generate that letter and send it home. Okay, so you should have everything there. It has our email address and our phone number on there. Please call with any questions you have. We are more than happy to explain those. Yes, sir.
Could you just give us the range of value in the McKay Scholarship by matrix, not just from to?
The low end is at this point in time almost $5,000 for a private school McKay for a child with an IEP. And the upper end at this point in time for a 255 or the upper end matrix is somewhere around 22,000. So I will tell you at this point in time, my understanding is that American Heritage and Sagemont are at about 25,000 per year at this point.
And is it still true that you can go to a school in an adjoining county?
Yes, we're reciprocal to Palm Beach and to Dade. So you can choose one of those.
As public school too, or just private?
That is public school as well. That is public school as well. Yes, ma'am.
I get so many questions from parents about.
I get so many questions from parents about the McKay Scholarship and know what you have up there is so simple. Do you have that on the website?
I will be more than happy to give that to Kelly so she can put it up.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I tried to kind of simplify it as much as I could so that you kind of had an idea of truly what it is and what's out there. All right, the next thing that we can talk about actually is open at this point in time to all students. That is reassignment, our magnet programs, and the NOVA programs. The application for that opened up on December the 1st, and it will close on February the 10th. If you go to the Broward School's website, it's the one that says easy as 1, 2, 3, and you just click on there. It takes you right to their webpage where you can actually apply for that. So they're open from now until February the 10th. They'll let you know one way or the other about your application in March. That is their web address there. And if there are seats that are not filled, they will open again in May through the second week of September. But the important thing to tell you is that you truly need to apply now during this open window so that you are given consideration when that second window opens. Yes, Ivan.
What's the GPA requirement for a magnet program, or is it specify as far as the criteria for acceptance into the magnet program?
I believe that the acceptance to each magnet program is actually on the site that's there.
Criteria?
Mhm.
Is this one also considered first come, first serve, or?
Reassignment, Magnet, and Nova have weight pools for theirs. So to give you an idea, they have a certain number of seats that are available. We start like the October of the year before looking at those things. We've done next school year already. So what they'll do is they'll award a certain amount of them, and then those go to the parents, and they're given a deadline date. If they do not do their application to that school by then it's null and void. Those seats are available. They go into the weight pool, and then they will again award the next number.
Can you go into, because I'm hearing whenever you apply for reassignment, it automatically gets denied. So how does that?
Actually, it doesn't automatically get denied. Most of them are done in a lottery type process. And we have worked very diligently with the Demographics and Student Assignment Office this year to make sure that the process is better aligned to what's there. They also have at least one seat in each of our programs. So that we're hoping that we demystify the fact that it's always denied. It's not always denied. But again, the important thing to remember is the window's open now, and it will only be open for a few more weeks. So if you think, apply for everything. Apply for everything. Apply for reassignment. Apply for McKay Public. Apply for McKay Private. There's nothing to say you can't apply for those things. Okay? Yes, Ivan.
So a parent applies for reassignment for their child and they're denied. Can you go through the process for the parents to understand what is involved in appealing the process through whether it's hardship committee or whatever other vehicles they have?
There is a policy called the hardship policy. It's policy 5004.1. And part of that does say that if you have one of three hardships, one of them being that you have a medical, you have a child care issue, or if you have an extenuating circumstance, you can then apply to the Office of Service Quality telling them that you have a hardship. And that letter goes then to that office, and they will deal with that.
Is it still like years ago where the parent actually goes to the committee?
Yes, if you're awarded a hardship meeting, you will then come to sit before the hardship committee. You have about 15 minutes to tell us what your hardship truly is.
That's all, 15 minutes?
I know.
Bob, we're on a tight schedule there. Every 15 minutes, we have a new family coming in. So I'd like to say I can give you an hour, but that's they said that, I don't. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my question is,
I think you're off there.
Okay, sorry. So my question is this is great that we have the reassignment periods and all of this kind of thing. And I'm in a really fortunate position. My son's school is great and his teacher is fantastic, but let's just say it gets to next year and something happens, something changes, and I'm not satisfied with the situation that I'm in. What are my opportunities?
Okay, all right. With the McKay Scholarship, the private school has those deadline dates of July 3rd and August 2nd to register to get all of the money. But as the time goes by, there are different deadlines. The first is to receive all, and then there's a second to receive 75%, and there's another one to receive 50 for that year, and then another one to receive 25. So you would know that that was where you were when you applied. It's very self-explanatory on the actual website. The public McKay will stay open for this school year until April 30th. So we close for this school year on April 30th. We post May 1st for what's available for next school year, and we start accepting applications May 15th. And we will run from May 15th of this year through April 30th of next year for all next school year, as long as there are seats available and we can meet your child's IEP.
So it has to be if seats are available. If seats aren't available, then
we say but it's more, can we meet? And we'll do some work with our actual curriculum supervisors and the principals at the schools to see. I'm gonna go behind you, Ivan, all right?
My next is elementary.
Okay, so my question is for the private schools.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned something about conferring with the schools in terms of the special needs students, but can you sort of explain to me what can be done since it's a private school?
Okay, that would not be for the private school, that would be for the actual public school that we would be able to confer with.
Oh, okay. So
the private school has those deadline dates, and literally you are taking your funding out of the public school and applying it towards the tuition at a private school. If that tuition is more than what your actual award is, you as a parent are responsible for any difference there.
Okay, so how do we find out like what needs, because in a public school, there's certain criteria that the public school has to follow in terms of the needs that that child has, in terms of providing the resources. So how does that work for the private school in terms of the resources? Are there certain things that they're mandated to do, or is it just?
No, they are not mandated, and it would be a matter of you actually contacting the school and having that conversation with them.
And
But they are not mandated to follow the IEP
and
or to
know
provide
that
services.
there are schools that jump on the McKay scholarship bandwagon, yet they don't really have the resources to figure through what they need. So that's a caution, because I know a school I was looking at when my son was little didn't have it. Now they do, but nothing changed there.
Right, right. And again, remember I said you're looking for one that's accredited. Ivan, last question here, and then we're going to move on to the next part.
It's a valid question.
Sure.
I've had situations in the past where a parent has gotten a McKay, went to the private school, the child attended the school and was dissatisfied with the services that were provided for the child. And when the parent decided, you know what, the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence, I better come back to public school. They came back into the public school system, but then there was a discrepancy of the dollars that followed the child because of the fact that with the windows as they are established, the child came back before the next FTE dollar allowance. The school kept the dollars and did not prorate it or send it back to the school system. Is that still a problem in our school system where dollars are being held back?
Well, it would not be a problem from our school system because literally all that we do is verify that they are still in attendance for payment. The actual payments come directly from the state school choice office to the actual school in the parent's name. So that would be something that parent would need to take up with the school choice office in Tallahassee. All right, ESE, let's go next one. All right, the personal learning scholarship account. How many of you have heard about this? Okay, some things I want to make sure you understand about this. It literally is a scholarship where you, the parent, make the decisions for how to spend the money. But again, it is bound by what we call the lifelong developmental disabilities. So we talk about DD in our schools being till age 6, but if you're talking in the whole real world of what are developmental disabilities, you will see that they're written there that they are autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, Prader-Willi, spina bifida, a student in kindergarten being a high-risk child, muscular dystrophy, and the Williams syndrome. So there are specific disabilities for this scholarship, this personal learning scholarship. You have to fit into one of those. Now, we in Broward do absolutely nothing with this scholarship. This scholarship is handled by an outside agency, and they are listed at the bottom there. There are 2 here in Broward. One is the AAA Scholarship Foundation, and the other one is Step Up for Students. You apply, you work with those scholarship agencies, and they make sure that you are abiding by the rules and paying the monies to the appropriate people and actually do all the checks and balances there. It is not done within the school system. The only thing that we need to do sometimes is in our offices is to do a proposed matrix. The majority of times this scholarship is about a $10,000 scholarship. It's about a middle of the road. If you're familiar with our matrix numbers, it's about a 253 matrix. Yes.
With the McKay Scholarship, is a qualification that a child be enrolled in a public school for 1 year. Is there a qualification similar to that for the DLSA?
If you look right there on bullet number 2, you have to be a resident in the state. You have to be at least 3 or 4 by September 1st, or eligible to enroll in K through 12. You have to have an IEP or an actual psychological written that shows that you have some type of disability here that would qualify you.
So it's not dependent upon a matrix for the amount, it's a flat amount.
It's pretty much, in their eyes, and again, it goes through these agencies, the middle of the road child. So most of the time it comes out to about. Can it be more? Yeah, it can be more if what you're seeing. Do I know what those amounts are? They have never given those to us.
Well, you just got my attention when you said that you do this matrix, which is something that I always thought was a hold up on the McKay Scholarship that would make kids go into a public school for a year. Because if you don't have a matrix, they don't know how much to assign to a McKay Scholarship.
Well, McKay has some definite different
But you can assign a matrix to a student who's not enrolled in a school.
For this learning scholarship, we can, yes.
How do they define the high-risk kindergarten?
It actually, when I went, Kelly, to that part of the statute, they look at some definite deficit areas. It was kind of a gray area as well. But
like that gray?
yeah, it's kind of like that gray area. So,
okay.
Yes, Deb. This is, you can homeschool. You can choose to homeschool. You can choose to do online learning with them. You can choose several different ways, but you need to make sure that you are coordinating. Homeschool of Tara teaching her child is probably not. Homeschool where you're actually hooked up through an actual homeschool agency or some kind of a program where you actually are going through things would be more of what they were looking for. Sure.
So I had a parent ask me, so the school's not providing services, so can they apply for this and to give the parents work? Can they get this, like say SLP or GPC?
You can't be in the public school and get a personal learning scholarship. You cannot be part of the public school and get this scholarship.
But they can use it for,
You could use it to pay for private school tuition. You could choose it to pay it for tuition. You could choose to pay whatever you're going to and put it away for a prepaid college plan. There are lots and lots of avenues that are here. But again, there are things that you as the parent work with these agencies to say, this is my money and this is what I want to use it to educate my child. But again, they don't attend the public school because we would be double dipping then. Yeah, Lynn.
At the rate of sounding redundant, I'm hearing this and this sounds so good to me. But say for instance, I wanted to take my child out of public school. Mm-hmm. Do I have to and homeschool? Then
you would need to contact before you even do that. I would say contact one of those two scholarship agencies and have a very in-depth conversation with them about what it would be that you wanted to do before you pull the trigger. Okay? Yeah, Buck. No, but I will make sure that we get them for you. Okay? It's probably on their website, and I will tell you that I gave the website to, and your first name is?
That's great, Jessica.
To Jessica. Jessica put it on the Facebook one, and she is getting ready to put it, the connection to the state websites for both McKay and the PLSA on the actual webpage as well. So, and I believe then they can click the button, it will. But before that, I will see if I can get that for you.
Do you apply for this annually or is it a one-time only? Do you know?
I believe it's a one-time only. Again, till you decide that you no longer want to do that. And it can follow you quite a long time. Because with this one, you can literally start when you're 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. We're good. Any other? Great. Again, please don't hesitate to let us know. Okay?
Thank you.
Lou's next.
And thank you, Jessica, for always linking all this information, you guys. Our advisory webpage is really helpful to you. So we're building upon that. It is going to be your one-stop shop. So you've got your district, but like the nitty-gritty stuff, we've got it all linked, and we're also going to be partnering with Children's Services Council more to use their portal to help you connect with other agencies as well. All right, take it away, Mr. McCullough.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good to see you again. I was here a couple of months ago, and it's always good to see a nice crowd here. I want to talk to you about deferment of your regular diploma. Give you a little history first, and then get into this. I have some information I put on the table too, and what I'm going to give to you is what I presented to the ESE specialist. So for any other questions that you may have, obviously it's an individual choice. Please access your ESE specialist. So the only people that used to be able to stay in the school system with students with disabilities are those that did not exit with a standard diploma. Some that had special diploma or another exit option, which might be certificate of completion. With the new law, that option is available to stay till 21 to students with a regular diploma if they defer taking their diploma. And there are some requirements that go along with that. We convened a work group that consisted of state people, all the ESE specialists from the tech centers. I think Tara was at a couple of meetings, and put together this process. I can tell you that it's brand new. Probably 95% of the districts in this state don't have a process yet. It's that new. We did send some questions up to the state via our Project 10 regional transition representative, and got back, we sent up about 20 questions and got back 20 non-answers. They've mastered the art of not answering a question very well. So we didn't get much guidance from the state, but that be as it may, this is what we have. Do you guys have the PowerPoint? No.
I think I have it on my computer. It's this one, right, Lou?
Yes. No. It's this one. That's okay if you don't.
I don't know that I do.
Okay, I can actually send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through deferment for you. Who may defer? Student with a disability who meets standard high school diploma requirements may defer if. So the first requisite is they have to be on track to graduate. They have to have an individual education plan that prescribes special education transition planning services or related services through the age of 21. So when this first came out, a lot of parents, we got a lot of questions from people about staying in the system and accessing Broward College or a tech center on the school board's dime, and that's not what this is. There has to be a need demonstrated for a continuation of transition services, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. One of the requirements is they are or will be enrolled in an accelerated college credit instruction, industry certification courses that lead to college credit, a collegiate high school program, courses necessary to satisfy the scholar designation requirements, or a structured work study or internship program. And I'm going to get into those a little bit too. By the way, I put on the table over there a matrix that describes the policy, and that also gives you examples of the choices that you have, whether they be at Broward College, a shared day, or at a tech center, or some of the work study programs that are under my purvey. So the right to free and appropriate education, the ability to stay in the school system until you're 21 used to be only for special diploma students. And that's okay for some students. A large majority of ESE students are not going to want to do this. They either want to move on with their cohort or they don't need these services. If they're on consult or they don't have a lot of support and they're doing fine in the mainstream and they're ready to exit into the adult setting, they would not qualify for something like this. And for those students, they would need to do a few things. Obviously, be able to advocate for themselves, understand the types of accommodations that they need. When you transition into the college setting, that's a whole different area. What kind of accommodations work for you in high school, what works and what's available in colleges. Who and when and to disclose a disability. You have to do that in order to get services in a college setting, and how to accommodate for themselves and so forth. So who can defer? Only a student whose IEP requires special education, transition planning, or related services may defer their diplomas. Again, I have some of those programs in a handout over there. They include the accelerated college credit instruction, career technical courses. You know, if they're already enrolled in a career and technical course and they need more time in their senior year, that would be a reason to defer. A collegiate high school, in structured work study, those are programs like the PASS programs in the high schools, which are community-based programs. The career placement program that are at all 3 technical centers. Those are for special diploma students 18 to 21, but will now be available for students who defer with a regular diploma. Those programs get them ready for the workplace and place them in paid employment, career placement. The Access program, which is at both Sheridan Tech and Atlantic Tech, another community-based program for 18 to 21-year-olds who have some communication needs and so forth. That's actually where the PASS program and services started before we rolled them out to the high schools. Project Search, which is a total immersion project program where we put students 18 to 21 in a workplace 5 days a week, 5 hours a day with a job coach and a teacher and mentors in the departments. And we've been in Miramar Hospital for 8 years. That program's won state awards and local partnership awards. And we just opened up in their largest property, which is Memorial Regional in the east. And the new WOW program, Work Opportunities from Within, which is school board training in school board jobs leading to school board employment. And we have that now at the Central Bus Terminal and maintenance and logistics. We have 12 students there working in some of those programs. So those are the work study programs that some of these students would be able to access now regular diploma students if they need those kinds of services and they need some experience in the workplace. What should the school districts, what kind of actions should the school districts take regarding the deferral process? They review the benefits of deferring with the parent and the student, provide in writing all the services and programs. There should be a letter coming out in January that talks about deferment. You must declare, parents and students must declare they're going to defer by, last year was May 15th. I believe this year it's by May 14th, because the 15th I think is a Saturday. Again, there has to be an IEP written that identifies a need for continuing of transition services. So all those things have to be set up after you get that letter and you think this is something that you want to do. You need to contact your schools and talk to ESE specialists. Again, we rolled this out to them in December, and I'm giving you the exact materials we gave them so you can use these materials to start the conversation. Basically, that's it. So it's new. It's available to students with that are graduating with a regular diploma. There are a lot of options. We're lucky in Broward County that we have a lot of options. Some districts don't. So again, contact your ESE specialist and talk about that if that's something you want to do. Just real briefly, one of the work study programs we have is at Goodwill. We have programs. 2 other programs that are work study that are at an agency. One is Goodwill's transition program, and those are community-based services at an agency that also allows them to do vocational things. Goodwill is selling a lot of stuff online that they used to sell in their superstores, and they have other warehousing and different kinds. They have, I think, document destruction, other kinds of vocational things that students can access when they're in that program. And the ARC, their School of Higher Education, HIRE, also is a community-based program that has vocational access in culinary, in electronics recycling, elder care, and child care, and so forth. So we have a wide array of programs. Again, the descriptions are, and some of the descriptions are in the materials I've given you. Goodwill is going to have an open house on February 18th. They had 3 different times. I left the flyer over there. The lunch, the noon meeting, they're going to provide lunch. They'll tour you around the program and let you ask questions and so forth. So there's a lot of options for students for jobs, as Ralph was saying, either going to college, a technical center, an apprenticeship program, or directly into the workplace. And my team is very much dedicated to preparing students to enter the workplace. We work with the job coaches and hundreds of businesses in this county to make that happen. Any questions, folks? Yes.
This is actually a Ralph related question, but the graduation and the cohort stuff that he was describing, is that like what's on the website? Is there something for ESE related students, or?
I don't think so. And you know, one of the things you have to consider is they're not going to be necessarily leaving with their cohort.
Right.
And that may be an issue for students, especially students who self-advocate for themselves. The date of graduation will be that date. But until they exit our system, they don't receive the actual diploma.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if Ralph has it on his website. I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Moving right along. Let's see.
It's a record. Lots of presenters. Okay. So I'm just gonna update you on what's been going on behind the scenes.
From my perspective, our subcommittees, we have an autism subcommittee, we have a Down syndrome subcommittee, and we now have a specific learning disability subcommittee. And we always are here talking about how there's no communication district, this person doesn't talk to this person, connect the dots. Well, we were finding the same thing within our own group. We're kind of operating the same way. So we said we need to have a meeting of the minds and just talk about how we're operating efficiently. And we had a fantastic meeting last week. So thanks to so many board members from all those committees got together. We had some really good discussion about kind of where we are, what stumbling blocks we're finding, and what we think is our best next step. And it all revolves around all of our global goals that we desire. Parent empowerment, reaching our parents to educate them, our achievement goals for our students, of course, and the other one, just that Gen Ed ESE collaboration. So it was really thoughtful conversation. BPI was definitely what really dominated the conversation. So we had that wonderful presentation last month, from Finn, Barbara Krakauer, and Deshina, and it was all sounded great, and we all had that feel good. This is awesome. This sounds fantastic. We were left with a lot of questions. What does that look like for me? What does it look like for my school? What is the accountability? So we were discussing that. At the school board meeting today, when I presented, I made sure that in my report, I talked about BPI and the importance of it and what it can mean if we do it well to start really moving a really positive direction for inclusion. But we have to be careful because what we're seeing is it's January. Some schools haven't even picked their teams yet that are part of that collaborative problem solving process. BPI, I haven't said, if you were not here, you may not know what that was. That's best practices. Thanks for the heads up, Nordina. Like you're waving at me. Best practices in inclusive education. So it is really important that we have stakeholders get involved. So it's supposed to be a collaborative team that administration from your school they'll decide who's on the team. You can certainly approach your administrator, and I would encourage you to do that and ask, what's happening with BPI at your school, at our school, how can I get involved? They are setting up those meetings to work on that, and districts working on their plan. So I hope when they give their report, they can share a little bit about where they are in that process. But it was interesting when I said that, I have heard a lot of feedback at District Advisory Council and other area advisories about the accreditation process that the Broward schools are going through right now. That's very, very important. And I know, having taught in a past life, the pressures on teachers, on staff, on administrators to make sure like it's all hands on deck. That's something that's really important for them right now. So there is a little bit of fear of BPI. It's January. This has been going on since 2013. Now the deadline is June. I had a teacher approach me right after I gave my report, and he sat right behind me, and he was a middle school teacher, an ESE teacher, and he said, "That program you were talking about, I've never heard about that." And I imagine I should probably be sitting in on that meeting. So, it's just awareness, communication. When I left, Venna Hudge, she approached me also because she heard the accreditation lingo I was using and was happy to hear that word is getting out. But she was trying to understand the concern that I raised about BPI. And so I think, again, it's just sometimes a little bit of communication breakdown of we don't know what's getting out there. We don't know what's not. We could have been utilizing our area advisories to be pushing BPI, just like we were using them to share accreditation processes. So I think if the more we get together and talk, you find out where the holes are sometimes. So anyway, BPI is definitely something that we need to show our administrators we value the inclusion. We want to be stakeholders in what that looks like in our schools. So ask your administrator how you can get involved. Yes. Someone's gonna have to do this. Yes.
So I was just curious as to what the, I'll just give you an example. Like, you can have, at a meeting, could be a meeting, you have your assistant principal, your ESE specialist, you have some parents, blah, 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 and, maybe staff thinks they're all the way there at 4, and us parents think they're all the way over here. So the accountability part, does district go in and say, well, this is, there's examples of all those indicators, there are examples, but some principals and assistant principals think they're doing it really well, but you have 2 different sides of the coin here,
right?
So who is holding accountable? What was your answer to that question?
I told him it's Sonia. She holds everybody.
So you're gonna have to school, and if they're saying totally, you're gonna have to they say that it's fully.
Pass the microphone, please, so everybody can. That's okay, thanks. Yeah, put it on if you want to hear that, right, for the record.
But for the record, as far as accountability, there's training, there's staff that I provided to follow up with them. It's there. It's there. So when you say accountability, that is a pretty strong word with accountability. And they want to get the role of something, but we say accountability, only accountability. Staff.
I guess the biggest indicator, because I'm part of that entire committee at my son's school, the biggest thing, and I've shared it with Kelly, and I've shared it with other people, the 80% inclusion. 80% is huge. When what you hear about now is our kids, 80% of our children, ESE children, should be included in the general environment.
80% of their school day.
Of their school days, of their minutes, which means it's going to be more than just sharing the same air while they're at recess and lunch and in the hallway. And that to me is just huge. So kids who are cognitively delayed are going to be sitting in gen ed classrooms, which are going to need accommodations and supports in those classrooms. Exactly, and that's been one of my biggest things is.
So can you address the 80% maybe?
what the 80% is? Because that was a question that came up. Can anybody address
I
that?
can address it because right after that, I
Okay.
ran into Barbara Krakauer. And she did make it clear. It was, right now, I believe the numbers for Broward are 81% of our students are already receiving 80% of their are included. So okay, so we're shaking our heads no. So this is where the discussion becomes really important at your school, because what is that really, where is that measure is the tricky thing. And then what are their services or their supports while they're in that gen ed setting? Can you pass the microphone back?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Sonia Clay, the ESE director. The IEP pretty much drives the instruction that the student would need. So if there are services on that child's IEP, those services will follow the student. Now, when it comes to the 80% of the day, that's measured by whatever their schedule is, because their schedule would reflect whether they're with their peers, how many minutes they're with their peers. And mind you, I haven't seen the Broward system. I'm talking based on my experience. By minutes, each class have a certain amount of minutes, and it has a certain course code, and that course code pretty much defines whether it's gen ed or a special education course. So, and based on that, we are able to determine, or as a district, when we pull our data, we're able to determine how much time each student spends with their non-disabled peers versus their disabled peers. And in addition to that, we have a big, the state of Florida has a big initiative for us to move as many students into gen ed classes as possible, to expose them, to give them opportunities to be with teachers that are certified in certain core areas such as math, reading, and science, and those kinds of things. Because I was an ESE teacher, and as an ESE teacher, I spent my nights studying the material because I wasn't certified in that area. But you couldn't tell me I wasn't teaching it, but I wasn't certified in that area. So we want to make sure that students are connected or get that exposure to those professionals that have the certification in those areas.
And I think that's the biggest challenge that was brought up, is that what I'm hearing from parents is that their student they wanted their child included. They did not want them in the cluster program. It was good when they were early elementary, but now they want them in the gen ed setting. They want them to be in real life, yet it's really not the least restrictive environment in a lot of ways, because the curriculum is not meeting their needs. So that is what I'm hearing overwhelmingly. Like, they might be there, but what are the services that they're getting that are really truly moving them forward? Or are they just are they really getting the adaptations for their own curriculum in the classroom too?
Parents to really, share that information with them. With the school site,
You have to have that line of communication open with your school site. If you feel that your child is not succeeding or receiving the accommodations that they need to have, then you need to make sure you share that with your ESE specialist, with the administration, because sometimes we may think certain things are working, and they may, and then in some cases they may not. So we will always want to revisit, those accommodations, or have that conversation about the accommodations and supports your child is receiving.
And having those high expectations for your child, raising the bar, they keep that standard high for your kids always, they will rise to the occasion.
Kelly, the other thing that came up in the meeting was the work accommodation, so that it was based on, I'm just going to pass it back.
We've already discussed that. The accommodation, so if they're sitting in a second grade class in a kindergarten level, but they're doing homework there or schoolwork that's not second grade, but they really do kindergarten, which you talked about.
That's modified.
It's modifying curriculum, but the biggest thing is support.
Several people mentioned that there was no modified curriculum, so we'll get back to them and they can get with their school.
Okay.
Okay, so for the DPI, when the parents are asking the schools for the students, what information should they be looking for the schools to share? Because sometimes the schools are just not as open, or the information they may share with the parents are very vague. So what information should the schools be sharing with these parents so that, they can ensure that the BPI is actually being addressed?
Okay, so you want to get on the Florida Inclusion Network website, because that shows you exactly what the indicators are that they're looking for. There's 34 indicators. There might be a packet here still, or we had them last meeting. There's a link to the PowerPoint, but basically all the indicators are there, and you have to agree upon them together. What your version is, your rating versus your administrator's rating. You have to come to a decision at the end to say, this is our rating. It's not like she wins because she's the principal, or you win because you're the parent. You have to decide. So that's collaboration. But who's being chosen and when we use the word inclusion, that's what I told Ms. Hudge today when I saw her. I said, we use the very word inclusion, yet the teachers aren't even necessarily aware of the process. So where's the inclusion there? Parents, I told her I would never have known what a BPI was if I was not the ESE advisory chair. I wouldn't have, so it's been in the works for a few years. Some districts have taken care of it. It's an opportunity. So rather than focus on here we are again, let's just use this as an opportunity. And I'm going to really be partnering with district staff to see how we can make this meaningful as this last push this year, and even more so going forward. Because we'll have this opportunity every 3 years to self-reflect. So actually, while we're on this subject, would you mind telling us where the district is in their BPI process?
Good evening, everyone. And it's so funny because I had the date right in my head and it escaped me, but it's the end of February. I will forward it to you, but it's February 20-something. 22nd. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, it's February 22nd, and we will be having a representative or two from this committee, as well as the task force and other parents in the community.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So bottom line, get involved, go to your school, ask them, and find out. Ask your ESE specialist, ask your administrator, tell them you would like to participate. We were able to give some feedback to Children's Services Council about our priorities in terms of ESE legislation. We got very short notice. I mean, I got it out as soon as I read the email. We've had such a good, our board has been, Jessica's working and she's always right on it and emails. So we got that information out and wound up with a representation of like 13 people, gave some feedback. So I thought that was really good within a couple days. Now the question remains, did it make any difference? I don't know that yet. I've been playing phone tag with Catherine Baez of Children's Services Council, but they certainly did. We're so happy for our feedback. They will give us more notice ahead of, in the future. But with regards to that, I keep putting the district back on the Q&A kind of thing. I'm still left wondering what Broward's legislative priorities are as they relate to ESE. Who wants that one? Okay, yes. That's a really important one because part of our purpose as an advisory is that's part of our purpose in our mission statement. So if we don't even have a gauge of what Broward's got in the map, I mean, because we do have specific things that, I mean, I know there was a ton of bills that are going on right now that a lot of people gave some really good feedback on, and we don't know where Broward stands. So it's really important. You need the parents to get to Tallahassee and get that voice out, so we need to know where you stand. Dr. Gold, did you have something you wanted to say? We'll give you the mic. This is going to be a good one.
Good evening, everyone. Dan Goldstein, Academic Officer. So what I will do, and I'm about to forward you the contact information for John Sullivan.
Okay.
John is our new legislative liaison in Tallahassee, and right now he's spending 4 days a week up in Tallahassee. He's been coming back next week. He'll actually be here. So he's here for Ed Talk starting tomorrow. So I'll try and talk to him in person. He is tracking every bill, and you must understand that when it comes to the district's position on any given piece of legislation, there are several different meanings to it. The board voted on an agenda that it wanted to see pushed. That was, in some cases, based on introduced legislation, and other times legislation changed. John has a staff that is tracking each piece and then sending pieces forward. So I would most directly like to put you in touch with him as an advisory board to the county as a whole and to the board through this committee. You have the right, it's all public information, so we'll expedite that relationship. I'll see if I can pull special legislation right now, but you should have that by the week.
Okay, just so you know, because I did start getting involved. This is nothing that was on my radar, but last year I did start I started going to like legislative affairs when Sheila Van Hoos was here. They had a great legislative affairs, like 101. I gave input, we tried it, no one, it was like, we want your input, but like, we're really not gonna do anything with it. So we, as an advisory, we have to start having more conversations with districts so we can move things forward, because some of it's just, it's not on anyone's radar if we're not discussing. And how can the board come up with their agenda if they're not hearing concerns from families? So we need to make sure we're definitely a part of that. Who has the mic? Steve?
Yeah, I did reach out to Sheila when she was still here and tried to get her aboard at least on restraint seclusion, because there were bills that were filed, and to at least get the district to be neutral on the question and not oppose it. And it would be great to have support. And as you described, there was a black hole. You know, it all sounded real nice when they were talking to us, but when it came right down to it, there was nada.
So who do I ask that question of? How do we have that forum, that opportunity to give input, not just through an email that you don't get answered, but through a real forum where parents can engage and say, these are our concerns?
So there was a series of public meetings that the board held in the fall for the upcoming legislative session that is now already begun.
Right.
So, but the best thing to expedite is to put you in direct contact with John, who is in direct contact with both the superintendent and the board. The superintendent may take a position on a bill that the board chooses to remain neutral.
Sure.
Right. So there's all these layers of influence and public stances.
Sure.
John does have staff that remain here during this session in order to keep us in the county informed. So
and what is John's education background? Is he just like Mr. Legislation guy, or does he also have? I'm just curious.
John came to us from Duval County, where he was the education pastor. Okay. He has been working for a different county here in Florida, in Tallahassee, prior to coming to Broward.
Okay.
Historically, and I'm just, being candid, anything that educationally that supports really ESE students is not really promoted by Broward County, because, again, they're looking at, especially with their legislative platform, it's very broad. We have Children's Services Council. I mean, I'm a member of the SNAC committee, so, there even to that point, there were bills that are out there that I've talked to them and said, are you supporting them specifically for special needs, or is that possibly could be in conflict with a children's issue? So they may take a neutral stance. I'm a member of the Florida PTA Legislative Committee. Same type of thing, things that might be in conflict. The best route that I've found for most of the legislation that involves special needs is the Florida Developmental Disability Council. They put out a legislative platform. They usually are tracking bills. They give you their position on it, what's positive, what's negative, and most of them are primarily geared towards special needs. So like the bill that you got from CFC, again, there were some that were special needs, some that were general bills, but it really takes, and the difficulty is you can have a legislative platform, like, we're talking about restraint and seclusion. Those two bills were already withdrawn. So I don't know whether they're looking to morph it into another bill, so that you really have to kind of follow. There may be some other legislation. I know One of the things that was brought out is the Senator Ring's coding bill. I know that the district is neutral or on the fence of not supporting it, but yet from an ESC standpoint, is that you have kids, one of the kids that testified has speech apraxia. For him to start learning a foreign language or even speaking a foreign language becomes very difficult. This is another option for him to get into college as a prerequisite. So those are things that I think that we have to be more on top of that and start to align ourselves with those advocacy groups that support what we support.
Right.
And piggyback on those things and necessarily rely on what the district's response is.
Right.
Unless there's something that we totally disagree with and the district is on the other side.
Okay, so we will get in touch with John Sullivan and maybe he can come speak to us too. So we'll be ready for the next session in advance. Yes. Yes.
Will there be anybody at DD Day next month to represent our UPJs other than Sullivan? Is he gonna be there? Is there anybody from district that's gonna be in Tallahassee for DDA?
Possibly.
Okay.
I just wanted to echo what Robert said about the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council. They're based in Tallahassee. They've got a big staff there, and they do really good work as well as training parents to be advocates. There's several graduates of their Partners in Progress program. Becky's one of them.
Yeah, congratulations, Becky. That was huge. Partners in policy making. Congratulations. Becky just finished on.
Yeah, and I'd like to also say that this is the second year of President Gardner's 2-year term as Senate President. He has a son with Down syndrome. And that's why we've seen a flurry of activity from the legislature about developmental disabilities legislation. Last year, a lot of it got short-circuited when the House walked out early in the session, and a lot of really good bills that should have passed in the last couple of days died. And that's why we've seen some really good bills that have to do with disability issues come out in the first week of the session, which is unheard of for a bill to get through the House, through the Senate, and go to the governor in the first 5 days of session. And several of them have already come out. And it was the deal worked out that, hey, my bills died last session, they have a priority this year, and it's happened so far. It's unfortunate that with this 2-year window of opportunity with a very strong Senate president, that the district didn't get aboard more and take advantage of supporting developmental disability issues.
You mentioned DD Day, and I was just asking him, could you elaborate more on it? Because I never knew about it.
The Florida Developmental Disability Council sponsors, like it's anything, Children's Week, whatever. They're up in Tallahassee. If you go, there is a resource fair, usually on the second or third floor of the Capitol. Different, again, most of it is in that Leon County area. So it's not people coming from Broward County or Miami-Dade, but there are resources. There usually is or has been. Sometimes the governor comes and has a conference. Sometimes there are some legislators. So you can kind of see who those legislators are that are supporting, disabilities, students with special needs, and get a feel for them. If you've ever been to Tallahassee? Well, there's more than just this is a whole legislative process to really align yourselves and get yourselves involved with those legislators that are trying to make a difference for our children. And again, it varies across the board. There are some that are very compassionate, others that may not be as compassionate. And really that brings out to understand the needs of children. I went, 7 years ago, my son was there, and next thing I knew, it was like the paparazzi were taking pictures because here's a kid in a wheelchair that, I'm kind of saying was verbal. And they took advantage of it, for political reasons. But he had a great time. But that gave me the entree to say, oh, by the way, that bill that's going on, do you think you can support it? And, again, responses, Call my legislative aide, we'll discuss it. Yeah, they'll address concerns, but again, you have to really understand the legislative process to understand how you get initiatives move forward, how you change them.
Okay, are we good there? Okay. Conversations with the district. There are still opportunities for you to have a really casual conversation in front of an audience with Mr. Runcie and school board members. The next one being tomorrow night. Who can remind me where that one takes place? Deerfield Beach High School tomorrow evening. It's an opportunity to chat with some of our decision makers and our leaders. So it would be a great opportunity for you. I know many people here have participated in the past. You get to sit on the stage in a comfy chair and just air out your concerns and bring light to something that maybe it would be beneficial. So I encourage you to get involved there. Ed Talk is also happening this week, this Saturday. I think registration is closed, and I think they have a wait list at this point. So I don't know that you can register on site. I think I got an email that said if you're not attending, let us know because we have a wait list. So that is something I'm attending. I know some other people here are attending that at Signature Grand on Saturday morning. Also, Monday is our Evergreen Task Force meeting. So that's the second one of this school year. There'll be one more. And again, an opportunity to listen to the progress made towards the making progress toward the recommendations in the report, and just some dialogue back and forth between all stakeholders. That takes place at Arthur Ashe at 10 o'clock on Monday. Okay. February's topic, we will have the Agency for Persons with Disabilities present to us about that application process, and that's a really important thing. So I reached out to somebody today, we spoke. She'll be here to answer some questions for you and bring applications, and that's something that is really important, but we may have some flexibility there also in that meeting to have something else happen. So since we have a little bit extra time and there are some new faces, it would be so great if we could just take 5 minutes to, at your table, discuss and write down some of these cards, some of the other things that are still burning questions that you have that you feel like you would like addressed in a topic form, or in March, we're trying to get something going where we have kind of like a resource fair during a meeting, like a meet and greet with some of our agencies that have been wanting to speak to you and tell you about their programs, summer programs, just kind of like a one-stop shop to meet some people and see what's out there. So if there's something in particular that you want to see represented at that March meeting, that would be great to write down too. So take 5 minutes, introduce yourself to somebody that you don't know next to you, and really do that because it makes everybody feel good when somebody says hi. And then write down some topic suggestions for the remainder of this school year, things that are still on your mind that you wish you knew more about. 5 minutes starts now.
I am not wearing
Yeah, so What about you? It's a lot. Very well.
I don't have to get. Precisely, that's what I'm saying. I don't. So,
Very quiet.
I gave you a little extra time, so I'm gonna give you 3 more minutes to wrap up your discussions. I'm glad you made some new friends. I see a lot of smiles. We're back. All right, so did we come up with some good topics? I'm gonna let everybody shout them out really quickly at each table, just so that we can hear them all out loud, and district can give some feedback if they might have somebody who can speak to those topics, or if we can also get some agencies involved too. So who wants to start with some of the things? Anybody had something that you were still wanting to learn more about this rest of the school year? Yes. Oh wait, you know what, let me get you a microphone if you hold on a second. To turn it on.
Perhaps some parent involvement opportunities for the schools, like they can have a parent meeting maybe once every 2 months, letting them know these kind of resources are available to them. And if the ESE specialist does it, or even if they just hand out the information just home with their home notebook.
So how did you find out about advisory?
I got a phone call.
You got that?
Yeah.
The robocall. Yay. You heard the whole message.
I heard the whole message.
Great. Because we're hearing some people, it gets cut off.
The numbers have increased.
Okay. Look at that. The number of calls has increased. Isn't that great? That's
Well, I
good.
went on mine today and it said January 21st,
Okay.
not January 20th. So I called the office today and just confirmed it.
Which is funny because there was a February date on the district calendar that I just caught that was like a Sunday. I'm like, we are not meeting on Sunday. Take that off the calendar. Okay, but that's a great idea. That is part of our mission is how do we, that's again, that Gen Ed ESE connection. Like everybody needs to know about it because the more people know, they tell a friend, it really helps us as parents to have the support. We get so much good information here. Thank you for that feedback. And thank you for coming too. Anyone else at a table? What did you come up with, Ellen?
I would like to see somebody give an explanation of the procedural safeguards. Because every parent gets a booklet at the beginning of the year, and most of the parents don't understand what is in that booklet. And every parent has procedural rights, and they really don't know what their procedural rights are. They don't know that they have the right to protest. They don't know that they have the right to an independent evaluation if they're not happy with the results of the school evaluation. They don't know what their rights are. So I think that might be.
And I'm sure Sonia's going to answer, but I know they have a meeting planned, or they do it a couple times a year. So I don't know if there's still one on the books. Is there? You don't know.
Yeah, we'll check. We'll take a look and we'll share some information.
Okay.
Okay.
Definitely. But I'm writing that down, and we can make sure okay, perfect. Thank you for that feedback. Anything else? I know you want to know everything there is about all these acronyms. What else do you want to know that we can bring to you that would be helpful? Yes, there's someone back.
Hi, my name is Frida Murphy, and I was an absentee for a long time, but I'm not here.
Oh, that's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Anyway, I went to my daughter's school, and they did an assessment. Normally, she used to go to Anstar for summer camp, and they assessed her that she doesn't need to go back to Anstar this year for summer camp, but she would do well in a drama or a dance class, because she's really a drama queen. But then she's still not fully concentrating working on that. How do I approach something like that?
Okay.
What's the resources there? Anything? Because you just can't go to just any regular place. So is there anything?
Okay, so we have, first of all, there is, and I should have said this from the very beginning, and I'm going to make a note to do this at every meeting. We have a form for specific concerns that you can fill out at any time, and district takes a look at that, and they definitely get in touch with you very quickly to help address those concerns. In this open mic forum, we really try to stick to the systemic concerns, but your concern is systemic in that we were just actually talking about ESY, which is the Extended School Year Program, and what that looks like. What we think of as summer school often. So we were just having a discussion about that would be something that would be worthwhile to bring here to discuss. How do you know if your child is eligible? What is the data to support whether or not they really need it? Every kid has summer slide and has regression, no matter what their abilities are. But is it typical? So anyway, that was something that will definitely be addressed before the end of the year. Thank you for sharing. Any other systemic concerns that you think would be so awesome that you would just line up and this room would be overflowing with people if we had that presentation? Ivan?
Yeah.
You got it?
There's something that always touches the heart and soul of a parent, and that is, of course, testing and understanding psychological and testing reports. So many parents go to meetings when they go over the data, the information, and they have a hard time understanding what they're talking about.
Fantastic.
If we can bring it down to their level and make it easy for them to understand, I think it will help the collaborative process at the IEP and not waste so much time in trying to explain things that they
Absolutely agree. That's a really big one. Great suggestion. Thank you. Steve and Gunny.
I just want to say thank you so much. I addressed the systemic concern the last time I was here, and you guys did a great job in addressing it. Someone called me, told me what was going to happen. The 2 schools were called, and this was in regards to the 2 students going to 2 different schools 15 minutes apart, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. One child always being late. So you did a great job in addressing that, and then someone called me back to make sure that it was followed up. And I guess just my only extension to the concern is I just want to know how we're going to address that for other parents, because I did know a few of the parents that had that issue as well, but I just want to know how you're going to go about addressing it for other parents. But thank you again. It's good to come to these meetings.
Sure, would you like to speak to that? Sure.
Although we are made aware of concerns and concerns like that, once someone presents that, then we ask the same question. How do we help other parents? How do we help avoid this? And those conversations happen at the IT table, but they also help at the school, and then we make our staff aware that this is a concern. How can we address it? So it's not as always as easy, but it's brought to the attention. If you have peers, you have siblings, what can we do to make that transition, the transportation, and just what can we do to address that? So we stay open to those issues, and we encourage our staff to do that.
Okay, fantastic. Systemic for meeting purposes? For question about meetings? Because is it about a meeting topic?
It's about, can I say the question and then you
Yes, you can.
It's not exactly about meetings. Are charter schools able to get the same trainings as regular schools? Because I have children, there are children in charter schools who have difficulty reading. And when I go into the charter schools, they say, well, we're not exactly allowed to have the training that the regular schools have. And I've heard this a lot, so I need to find out.
Okay. And that may be a systemic concern to address.
Parents in charter schools are hearing things that are not true. So I would like to be able to find out if this is a concern. If they are getting the same trainings, if they, that the public schools get, if they can have the same materials that the public schools get.
So I'm going to let Jackie piggyback on yours, and then I think Mr. Gold has something he'd like to add to. Yes, that's very
systemic. I was holding back on my question because I wasn't sure if it's
that's great.
Or
that's great.
Other session, because I know I'm in a minority, my child goes to charter school. But as we have district folks here, I would like to piggyback on that if I may. How are you holding, or this is a topic maybe for another point, I'm not necessarily saying we need an answer today, but I was going to suggest that a good talking point for parents generally, without narrowing it to charter schools, is how does one hold their school accountable if they feel their school is not helping their child or is not delivering on their obligations? So what are parents' rights or processes to go through? But then to narrow it back to the charter school thing, how is the district holding charter schools accountable? Because I can tell you of some that just aren't being. And one can go to the district and point that out, and the district says you need to go back to the regional director of your charter school. And it goes round in a circle, and no, you don't. The district, charter schools have the same obligations under certain federal requirements that public schools do. And for the district to just hand the complaints back to the people that you're complaining about isn't right, and it's not being sorted out.
Okay, can you pass that to Mr. Gold, please?
Good evening again, and please colleagues join in when I'm done. But in short, many federal block grant funds, such as IDEA, Title I, come to the county, and we are required as distributors of those monies to provide compliance training. Here's the advocate there, compliance training, right? They are a charter school, and therefore implementation does occur through their charter management organization and the charter that they have. So the question, do they get the same training as DCPS non-charter schools, depends on whether it's compliance, in which case the answer is yes. If it is best practices, things that we have under contract with providers, the answer is perhaps, because we have about 60 charter schools that actually contract with the county for the right to use our curriculum, to access our professional development, to get what the non-charter schools receive. Now, they sign an agreement to do that. There is a remuneration of their charter allocation back to the county to provide those services from the school district, because the way a charter works is they get the funding. So they can't both have full funding and the benefit of what the non-compliance training is. So depending on the charter school, you're going to get a different answer as to whether or not they have opted into what's called the Charter School Cooperative Agreement. And all of that is handled through an office chaired by Leslie Brown, which is Portfolio Service. So she oversees the charter issues. but I know that Sonia and others do training specific to the federal allocations and grants. Mickey Pope does for Title I, and there's a number of things. So there's, it's a national bureaucracy. And then you have a state bureaucracy, and then a county bureaucracy, and then a school bureaucracy. In short, what I advocate for you is what I'm going to advocate for every parent, which is you must be persistent, and you must at the same time be polite, because you're going to find that that is the combination. Do not be overly patient, right? So that persistence and polite is going to get it. Escalate it up, find out, ask questions. You've got the leadership of the county here at these meetings, whenever possible, all four of us. And for the first time in 2 years, our ESE team is complete.
Oh my gosh, can we just stand up? And this is like amazing. Wow.
And you deserve better than you got. Okay? Hold us accountable for doing it. Go to the board, go to the superintendent, whoever. But if we're not aware, we can't act.
Polite and persistent. Love it. Okay. Okay.
Would staffing levels be an acceptable subject to discuss?
I think as it relates to Evergreen, I feel like I had actually reached out to Stacy Hoagland as the chair of Evergreen, and would love for her to also be able to give us an update after the next meeting. So I think that could be something that could be addressed. Everybody agrees? Yeah. Okay.
Because I think it's a real core deficit with the district since June of 2013 when the sequestration cuts came and cost us 16 support positions. And then when we got the Evergreen report in May of 2014 and found out that we described what had happened to support staff as a dearth of staff. Over 50 positions were just eliminated throughout a period of time. And I know that in communication I've had through the superintendent's office that they're rebuilding staff, but quite honestly, there's no way to tell what's really happening because they're playing this musical games here with some of the titles that they have to be staff people. At one time it was a behavior specialist, now it's a behavior technician, and we've hired this many of this and this many of that, and this one's gone here, this one's gone there. And when you're being evasive like that, there's usually a reason.
So because that has been a concern that I've heard over and over and over again, is there some way district can provide for us kind of like an org chart that shows us what staffing levels look like and when they're increasing, like you turn yellow or this person turns, we've added something that gives us an idea where we were, where we are, where we're headed? A visual, we're visual people.
Stacy actually asked for that at one of the meetings.
Yes.
And I'm not aware that it was ever answered to her pleasure.
Okay.
And I know that it was delayed in coming. I know that the meeting that followed it, she asked staff about the staffing levels, right. And the answer was, we're working on it.
And recognizing that, we know our staff is just now complete. Our leadership team is just now complete. We've had a tremendous amount of turnover with our leadership team. So clearly, persistent and polite. Don't be patient forever. And so here we go. We have this opportunity to move forward with some of these things, and let's just keep partnering. Thanks.
You're talking about the charter schools. I was at MIT today, and it was first time with 8 people in Senate. 28 children in kindergarten class. Is that part of that thing you have that they don't have to have the same numbers as our 18 in kindergarten classes?
You're talking about class size.
Yes. Okay.
What I'll say is I am not aware of how that course is coded with the state. Class size reduction is a constitutional amendment here in Florida. It is actually, in my opinion, the bane of many problems as to why we can't fund lots of things that we used to have. Tens of millions of dollars. some county money go into meeting the class size reduction requirements that each grade does. And so we get smaller class sizes, but sometimes that comes with a cost of the quality of the people that are sitting in the room. And so this is a very difficult decision. Depending on how that course is coded, it may be exempt. So, for example, at the high school level, the high school tags the course as a blended learning environment, a fee in the system, it's exempt from class size. So, if they have it stacked, or what they call nested here in Florida, that is possibly how they're doing it. But it sounds on the surface like a violation of the constitutional. So,
okay. Thank you. I'm looking at the clock, and I just want to tell you what I have left, just so we know where we're at. I have committee reports left. Which I think will be quick, but we have committee reports. We have a district report still if they want to add anything else. Okay, okay, you're not off the hook. Dr. Higgins, give us, okay, so we've had a lot of questions, but we've had some back and forth. I always go off the agenda, but I think it's sometimes good to just go with the flow. So let's wrap this part up here quickly. The last question here for this part of the conversation is, we just got some really good feedback for some more things to bring forward to discuss. Fantastic. Is there anything else that we did not touch on, Mr. Mason?
My table had a very
great discussion.
But this is kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Gall said, is that one of the things that I've always, had as a parent is the question of how to navigate the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somewhere, when we talk, when Mr. Gall says, be persistent but be polite, is almost that as a forum to have, whether or not it's ESE support, district staff, and a group of parents saying, here I am, I've got this concern, and I bring it forward to my principal, or I bring it forward to the teacher, and it gets pushed off, and I go to the principal, and it gets pushed off, and I go to district staff, and it gets pushed off, and I go up to the next level, and it gets pushed off, and I, go all the way to the superintendent, and by the time we're done, the year is up. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. And that's sometimes what happens. There are other times that you make a call, and the next minute you walk into the school, and it's taken care of.
So there is a parent engagement. What do they call it again? I don't know. There was a parent engagement. The first one was last year. It's a parent engagement conference, March. I believe it's March.
But that's not specific.
I know, but what I'm saying is this is good feedback to even bring to them. Like, this is how parents, we need help. And that's not just ESE, we're not just the only population that's affected by that. So, that's something that's a systemic concern.
Just quickly, in answer to Becky's question, they could be a high performance charter school where they're exempt from certain state requirements to meet certain class sizes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for walking that mic around, Ivan. I would like to let our director give his report.
Well, it's coming this March, because it is
Perfect.
parent engagement conference.
Thank you.
March.
And it's at Piper, our favorite place to be. Thank you.
Good after night. How are you? I just wanted to share, a report, what I've been working on since I last saw you. But hopefully it all stems or goes back to your voice is heard. For, I left here, it's like our voice hasn't been heard. Nothing's being addressed, nothing's being done. And that really, I know that gets tiring of you, and in the short time I'm here, I've really been tired of hearing it, to be honest with you. There are things that are going on that are being done and being completed. And you may not know about it. But so let's just go down a list of things that I've heard so that you know that one, it's being heard, and two, somebody's doing something about it. It just wasn't taken care of or finished yesterday. It's also been stated that for the first time, as of today, around 10:30, approval was given for this team to be a complete team. At 10:30 today, from what I'm told, I thought it was a year or a year and a half, but it's been a really unstable in my office for about 3 years that positions weren't filled, and there were some vacancies, and there's been some people who were standing in for others, and one person in particular doing the job of three, and trying to get that done. And so as of today, Mary Claire Musinick was appointed as the Director of Support Services. I'll give you an opportunity. I'll give her opportunity to say a little bit if you don't know who she is and know about her work, to give her opportunity to say those things. But I heard about BPI, and not everyone knows about it. But I came into the district. Everyone should know. There's been memos, there's been conversation, there's been training, there's been postings, emails, letters, and the like. This is an extremely large district. If you got the memo, didn't read it. If you saw the post and didn't know what BPI was, if it's not interesting to you, if your child is included, it is not interesting to you. If you don't have a desire for your child, you don't think your child meets that requirement, it's not interesting to you. So therefore, you may not pay attention to it and may not know. But it's a mandate. It is something that's being required. It's been a directive. It's being pushed. It's going on. But to say that nothing's going on, it's going on. There was conversation about just private schools, pre-K, and funds, and where they're going. Some may say there's nothing going on with pre-K, and we may have an exhaustive amount of money going to other schools. Under my direction in the past 6 weeks, or I said we're going to tell you how long I've been here. And under my direction, we've added 3 to 4 classes, or maybe high, but we've added or have approved for adding classes within our own division, and because there's a requirement for us as a public school to provide the services that a child needs as close to home as possible in the least restrictive environment. Our requirement. And so it may be more, maybe 7 classes, and what's funding a class? There's kids, there's staffing, and there's support, and there's transportation consideration, and there's a number of things that go into that. But that is rolling. It's going on right now. There are some children being served and have the opportunity to be served in their home zone school right now because of the changes that were being made. There's been increased classes in other various programs in the past month and a half. Some ASD, some EBD classes, autism spectrum disorders, and emotional behavior disorder classes have been added. The literacy guide, I know it's a touchy subject for some, but it's not for all, because not everyone is really that concerned about certain aspects of it, though everyone in the division should be, because we are struggling in areas of reading and math. That should be a focus. There's a meeting, or the final draft of that revision should be prepared by next Tuesday, I believe is the date. If the date is the 26th, that number is sticking out as opposed to the date. But next week, that final draft is supposed to be finalized. Someone is doing something with that. Seclusion and restraint and expulsion. There's no way that I can stand here and say that no one is hearing that, no one is doing anything about that. It's not an issue and it's not a topic. It hasn't been resolved to the likes of some, but not everyone is on board with doing away with it, with seclusion, restraint. Not everyone is in agreement that we don't need it. So therefore, we have to look at all and not make a decision based on some. There's data that supports seclusion. There's data that supports restraint. Maybe the types and the different, and who does the training and who it's performed by. Those things the data may show different. And you can also use data to reflect whatever it is you want to do if you're good at what you do as a researcher. But it's being considered, as some of you know, and not to point any one person out, but some will be visiting those placements where the seclusion or the timeout rooms are. But you'll see from the data there's been a significant data, and that data involves our own people and our own kids, and it's not made up data where there's been a reduction in its use. But some will still say, parents included, that my child may need that type of intervention. What do we do for that parent? Or do we take that intervention away from their child? Sometimes we forget when we're trying to make decisions, and the hardest part for our office or for our position is to remember the I in IEP. You just have to do that. Senate bills and legislation. Senate Bill 850 speaks to, in meeting with CTASE and That's an acronym that I don't know. I'm sorry, but I know it's a part of working with our children. And Senate Bill, it dealt with industry credentialing, it deals with graduation of students with disabilities and how the impact of that has on our IEPs, but it also has an impact on the programs they can go into. It has an impact on what industries and accommodations a child can, what accommodations we can give a student, and the industry credentialing can still be provided to them. There's conversations going on about that. Not finalized, but there's something that's going on in graduation. Budget. It's budget time. It's time to talk about the budget. I want to go to something that was communicated today by our superintendent, and it's been danced around in here about positions being cut and the like. Nationwide, there was sequestration. Nationwide, there was ARA stimulus money, recovery funds, and the like that was spent, and we had a good pool of money where we were able to buy some resources. Broward had that too, but there was also a time when that money dried up. Since 2007 or 2008, I believe the way the superintendent communicated it today was that Broward has lost over $1 billion due to that. When you remove that $1 billion that you had in 2007 and 8, there's one major group that's going to be cut, or one major resource that's going to be cut, and that is going to be our people and our resources, because they take up the bulk of the budget. True, behavior specialists were cut. True, ESE specialists have been cut. True, there were a number of other positions that had to be cut in order because the money was gone. That was just it. But I know that you start with support. When you are going to make cuts in education, you start with the support as opposed to the teachers. You go into the classroom last. I see that Broward did that. Are we on the upswing? We sure hope so, but it's not going to be back to 1 billion that quickly. So we do have to make those decisions. We have to look at the data shows what it says about behavior. Behavior, we understand that. We have to look at that in our budget and see what it is that we can do to provide that support. We want to be successful. We don't want to finagle and hide or do whatever with money or funds I don't know where it would go, but it's not going in the pocket of ours. I would say that we need to look at, in our budget, it's time to look at teachers, behavior specialists. Something else that was said that's not happening, or part of Evergreen study was SLPs and looking at their coverage. Their contracts have been extended so that they can provide the service during the summers, and it can also help with speeding up the evaluations at the pre-K. There are things in the Evergreen study that have been done. It can maybe communicate that nothing's being done. That's not true. And we'll be able to show that and have that discussion. It may not be, everything's not done. And it's going to be a while before everything can get done, if at all possible. Conversations about unique aids. There's a significant number of unique aids that are being provided on our buses and transportation. Much more than we're seeing in some other divisions. But over time, someone has been able to say, a parent has requested it, not that it's wrong, but a parent has requested it and someone has just agreed and not really looked into, do they need this service all the time? It kind of goes back what you asked about when you were talking about the 80% and the discrepancy with that 80% of the time in inclusion. 80, but every child doesn't need support in every class. So there's a belief that has been a belief, and I'm not sure if that's still the belief in Broward, but if you have a student with disability and they go into a general education class, that means that they need to have a special education person or an assistant to go with them. That's not the case if the child's disability doesn't warrant it, or they're warranted, or their IEP doesn't necessarily warrant it either. So that's just not the case. ESY, the time to plan for that. There's been conversation about that, as well as being prepared for it, but having teachers prepared for that as well. There's conversation and a lot of work going around an elopement plan. That's been a concern. It's been presented. I know it's been, from what I'm told, a year in the making, but there's also some concern about having that publicized. And I share that for the first time, that I'll share that if you have a safety plan and a plan of some sort that may involve our security and our management of that, it may not be so wise to share out what your plan is to maintain safety to the world. You have some folks out there who do some covert things. And so if you assign something like a code or something to what it is that we would do in the school in the wrong hands, it could defeat the purpose of having a safety plan. That's just one piece of it. But a plan does need to be developed. And one does need to be carried out. And it doesn't involve an inordinate amount of money to do. So we'll get that taken care of pretty quickly. Today, you can't dance around. I can't leave the podium without talking about today's events at our board meeting. You know, you have concerns here, and there's several other groups of parents out there that some of you may be involved in or may not be. But there was concern. The concerns that were presented today at the board meeting are taken just as seriously as the concerns that are presented here. Now, although there may not be in the presentation one that felt so comfortable, but I heard a group of parents that were concerned about abuse, bullying, harassment, and non-compliance with IEP and all those things that impact my position and what I'm in this job to do. And so I take them seriously. They'll be reviewed and looking for resolution, looking for fact and not, because you have to base on fact and not always feeling. And if they're true, and if there's consequences that have to be given out to whomever, and we talk about accountability, then that's what we do. That's just the right thing to do. And I just can't say it anymore, that if our children, all of our children are entitled to a free, appropriate public education, and that's what our role is. And that's it for now. I wish you all good night.
So thank you very much, Dr. Nicklin. We need to do committee reports. Yes, Dr. Nicklin.
I would like to give this.
Oh, yes, yes.
Dr. Newsom, forgive me.
Yes, it's all right.
All right, I know it's late. I know it's very late. I just wanted to address you all. I'm very excited to be in this position. It's exciting. I've been part of the division. If you don't know me, I have been with Broward County for 15 years. I started out as an intern student, a practicum student. I became a school psychologist and worked in the schools. I then became coordinator of psychological services, and now I'm very happy to be the director. And that is of support services. So I oversee the school psychologists, but also the family counselors, and work with the program supervisor for the SLPs, the OT, PT, Tara for ESE IEP, McKay, Medicaid, and Finn and Fiddlers. So the preschools, the preschool teams. So it's and
Due process.
Oh yeah, and due process too. And compliance and due process. So it's a very large job, but I'm really excited and up to the task. And I just, so that you all know, I am a mother. I am an educator. I feel very strongly about our families, and I really enjoy working with families. I'm a psychologist at heart, and I love helping people. I love coaching and helping families through difficult times, helping them get to, because there's a lot of emotion involved, really helping them get to what the issues are. And I'm a problem solver. So I like to kind of, let's get to the meat of the problem and kind of take you through that so that we have a successful resolution so everybody feels good about it. Okay, so that's just, we'll be talking more, but I just wanted to introduce myself, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Committee reports, DS committee. Got something for us, something great? Okay, hold on.
Okay, our next general meeting, I did a look. February 16th, we are going to be discussing the DPI. And also, I'd like you all to know, Broward Down Syndrome Organization is doing a white spot training May 21st, so please say the date.
So rights law training
Rights
is,
law training is Pete Rights and his wife are the, well, they were attorneys, the educators, and they have a couple of like 3 books that I know, pretty more than that. I've been to their training, it could be a 2-day or 1 day out in California actually. But they're gonna be coming here, and then I teach about the IDA, educations, all kinds of stuff, EVIP, how to.
is there a fee associated with that?
You know, there is, Kelly, but we don't have that fee yet.
Okay.
But I can let you know the fee that when we get it, it's gonna
Okay.
include a breakfast, it's gonna include a lunch.
Okay.
It's gonna include your books.
Okay, fantastic. So that's parent empowerment at its finest, right there. Perfect. At its finest, straight from the top. Okay, yes.
A study for indicators, and we use our February meeting for the afternoon committee. We use those 2 hours to help whoever you welcome. Anyone come, give them a hand, give you a copy, and we can sit down and explain to you one indicator at a time.
Yay, inclusive.
Because me and Becky, we both are on our school committee, and we work with the school for 2 meetings now, and we finished 16 indicators. So we feel that, you know, you have to reach out to everyone if you need to come and.
Great.
Get to know a little more about it.
Fantastic.
February 16th.
And when was the rights law training again? February? May. Oh, May. Okay, perfect. Our SLD committee, since she's got the mic.
SLD, our next meeting is February 8th. It's at 10:15 a.m. and it's at the Sunrise Library. We are going to have Sonia Clay and her staff go over what exactly qualifies for an SLD and how they go about handling it from the identification on through to the services. So we look forward to that.
Did you have a question about that? Yes, but who can't go? Okay, so we'll upload documents or whatever to our site, and we have a Broward ESE Advisory Facebook page that helps link you in and remind you of things that are coming up too. But that, I'm glad you asked, and of course it is my passion, you guys know that, but the problem with our specific learning disability is these kids often are not identified. So, you know, you've got autism or you have Down syndrome, you may have known that for a long time, but if you have a specific learning disability, there can be a gray area there. So if you're thinking maybe I'm in the gray area, or you know somebody who might be, just share. We need to share. And it's really beneficial information for everybody. So we would love to get more involvement. That's the big one. And we have ACE. No one's here. I know Wendy I spoke to today is sick, and Kelly's not here. But I know they've been working a lot on BPI. They've got their parent manual. I'm sorry, Lindy. I'm sorry.
No, we have been working on BPI and we want to delve into it even more.
Fantastic.
Itemizing. Oh, we've been delving into it even more for the next meeting as well.
Okay.
You know, we want to really address some of the concerns in it because we feel that it's going to really impact our children. It's beneficial.
Okay, fantastic.
All children, but especially.
Really quick show of hands, if it was your first meeting tonight, who was here for the first meeting? Really welcome. Thank you. I hope you learned some things, and I hope you met some new friendly faces that can help you navigate the system. And one more question for Sonia and the district staff. Policy, I don't even know the number anymore.
1.22.
1.22
And the bylaws.
with our bylaws. Right. No, I know, it's like, here, yeah, we just have to say it every meeting. So we really need an answer because we're now approaching this time where elections are gonna start coming again. And we would love to be able to know that we have proper bylaws in place. Bob Mayerson, announcement.
On February 18th,
February 18th.
February 18th at Ramblewood Middle School.
Yes, I'll be there.
The Children's Services Council, the Queens Snack Committee is having a community resource fair. There's going to be a lot of agencies, so if you have questions, especially last year we had, there were a lot of families that were looking about what they do for summer camp. So it is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
At Ramblewood Middle School on
Ramblewood
February
Middle.
18th. Yes. Anybody
Send it,
else?
I can- you have a flyer?
Announcements? Do I have a flyer?
Yeah.
Not yet.
You want
Send
me
it to
send
us, please. Yes. We're running over.
I won't be long, I promise. I just want to let everybody know, there's a new crew in town. There's a new organization called Ken's Crew. And this is Terry, she's the state, a Florida organizer. Dan Marino organization reached out. This organization's in 5 states in the Northeast. And what they do is they, through the application process, they select they're students who have graduated from school. They're out of school, and they do an application process to employ them. And it is a big, Home Depot is the biggest sponsor. It's called Ken's Crew because of Ken Langone, if you know who he is from Home Depot. And it's a wonderful organization. It's also growing into CVS and possibly other companies. So if you know of any adults with disabilities that are looking for a job, please, you can take a flyer and you can have them go through the process, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Any other announcements? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. It was lovely seeing you, and we'll see you back next month. Thank you.
So